Welcome, everybody. My name is Hiten Grover, and with me I have Mr. Omid, Mr. Amir, and Miss Chloe. We are the students of LDRS 303, Contemporary Leadership Approaches. It is taught to us by our wonderful Professor VanDyck, and today we are gathered to talk about transformational leadership and servant leadership as a hybrid model through the concepts of Northouse and some insightful teachings from our professor. Our Professor VanDyck, I want to take a minute to talk about our professor. I mean, among the many mindsets of leadership, he has certainly been a transformational leader to us. And through this video, we want to try and demonstrate the concepts that we learned from him, and in this class it's just a way of or a way of us to appreciate the way he taught about leadership to us. So yeah, so we'll be talking about transformational leadership, we'll be talking about servant leadership, we'll be talking about some of the traits that both of them have and how this can work as a hybrid model. And then we are going to talk about certain factors that are quite opposing in this. Yeah. And James Burns in the late 70s argued that transformational leaders develop followers as individuals and as future leaders by empowering them and responding to their needs. Now, as our professor introduced this to us about transformational leadership through Northouse, he spoke about those four factors which Northouse also mentions, that are idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. These four factors. So, Omid, what do you think about these four factors? And could you tell me some of the key characteristic of transformational leadership?
Yeah, actually, if you remember in the interview that we have a guest speaker,
Mr. VanDyck,
yeah,
yes,
Mr.
Professor
VanDyck,
VanDyck, he brought a
yeah,
wonderful
exactly.
guest speaker in our class who spoke about transformational leadership and other mindsets as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
If I asked him, I think very important question, because it was my question was, what do you sell to people as a leadership company?
Okay.
What he answered: transformation.
Okay.
As a transform, and it says how important is transformational leadership style.
Okay.
And also, as a transformational leadership, the most important part that you should know is you are leading, you are creating a positive environment, you are transforming the changes, and also you are organizing some things, and you are finding the way, and you know the destination, and you're aligning your teammates, your followers, your team to the destination.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. Northouse also talks about it, and Professor introduced this to us, and he said about mission. First of all, vision, mission, and your values. So yes, you spoke excellently about it. Yes.
Thank you so much. And also, I think as a transformational leadership, you need some tools. Some of our tools are from our character.
Okay.
And
Yes.
some of our tools are from our something that every leaders or managers have in their job. And also, I believe the most important part of the transformational leadership, part of character of a transformational leader, is charisma.
Oh,
Do you believe in that?
Yes, yes.
Do you believe in that?
I understand your perspective. I remember Professor talking about how charisma plays into the role of a leader. And
I think charisma is something that everybody have. Those, I think it's something like a talent, but you can't have that.
Okay.
You can learn that. Somebody can teach you about that.
Okay.
It's something like a talent. Some people can find it inside themselves, but some people not.
Okay.
How can how can you have that? With learning, study about that.
Yes.
You know, charisma. Practicing. Yeah, exactly. Practice is the most important part of learning, you know. As a leader that is going to find his charisma or her charisma, the most part of that is practicing that, you
Yes,
know.
yes, and I agree with you. I mean, what the one of the books that our professor recommended was Strength Based Leadership by Base and Reggio, and charisma is definitely one of the strengths. And in Clifton's strengths test, we had Wu as
Exactly.
one of the strengths. And
Yeah, but you know why? Because I believe the most important part of communication is first impression,
okay,
you know.
yes, okay,
And if you catch that, it's something that you can catch it with your charisma as
Okay.
a leader.
yes, and I'll try to tie this with the some reference. Robert House. So just as at the time James Burns introduced us with transformational leadership, Robert House spoke about the theory of charismatic leadership. So that came about at the same time. Yes. Chloe, what do you think about transformational leadership?
Thank you. As I remember, Professor VanDyck said transformational leaders are ready for uncertainty.
Oh yes.
They often stop back to see the big picture and take responsibility of their choices.
Yes, and when we were mind mapping servant leadership with transformational leadership, and vision was definitely one of the factors to be able to have a big picture thinking, and both of these mindsets connects in a way. So thank you so much for that. Now, Northouse talks about this continuum, the leadership continuum. On one end, we have transformational leadership, and on the other hand, we have laissez faire leadership. And in the middle, we have transactional leadership. So, could you tell me on this continuum, if you want to put servant leadership, where would you put it?
I think it is close the transformational leadership.
Okay, close to transformational
Yeah.
leadership. And Umid, could you tell me how do you think if servant leadership would come to this side? Could you explain it a little bit?
I think in the both of them, they have some similarity, you know. For example, both of leaders should know the destination and they should go through that. But in the transformational leadership is more focusing, the transformational leader have more focus on the result and on the destination they are going through.
Okay.
But servant leadership lives very in this moment, you know, thinks about everything about this moment, about the people, their team, his team, uh, in his team chemistry, you know. Is thinking about his team behaviors, is their need, you know.
Yeah.
Is thinking about their
Yes,
need. And
yes.
the most important part, the most important thing that the servant leader think about the moment and the people, but transformational leader thinks about the future and the destination.
Okay.
And the way we are going through.
Okay. Amir, what do you think about on a laissez-faire side and transformational side, servant leader being very close to transformational leadership style?
Servant leaders support their followers. They give them guidance, mentorship, and laissez-faire give up.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying,
yes, it's hands up.
okay,
Yeah.
yes, it's hands free. Yes, you're
Yeah.
right. And yes, so you're saying servant leaders cannot be hands free because at all the time they have to take care of your followers. I agree.
Always serving, you know.
Yes, they are serving. So indeed, they are close to transformational leadership style. I agree. And Robert Greenleaf was the person who coined the term servant leadership, and he was inspired from this Herman Hesse's novel on called Journey to the East, and it was a very interesting story the way he got inspired from that. And our professor told us about this, and even Northouse talks about this. Chloe, Could you please tell me a little bit more about servant leadership mindset?
Our Professor VanDyck and Northouse Leadership a paradox.
Okay.
That terms show the seemingly opposite nature of the idea a leader who leads by serving.
Oh, yes, yes. Paradox is an interesting word, and this term was introduced to us by Professor VanDyck, and we were inspired that you are a servant and a leader at the same time. So it was quite interesting. So let me ask Amir about what do you think are some of the key concepts of this leadership style? I mean, Northouse talks about it a little bit.
Yes.
Could you give us a brief?
Let me, based on Northouse, list them key concepts.
Okay.
First of all, listening. I remember that active listening, we talked about that.
Professor VanDyck says proactive listening, but yes,
Proactive.
yes.
Yeah. And empathy,
Empathy, yes.
healing,
Okay.
awareness,
Having self-awareness,
yes,
okay.
persuasion,
To be able to persuade people, okay.
conceptualization,
Okay.
understand-
Conceptualization,
yes,
okay.
Foresight,
Having a foresight, yes.
and stewardship,
Stewardship, okay.
commitment to the growth.
I think that is one of the most important, that
Yeah.
a servant leader he's aligned.
Commitment to the growth of his team. And people.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Having that commitment, yes.
And building community.
Okay, building community. Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. I mean, now when we talk about transformational leadership and servant leadership, I remember it's a great thing you mentioned when Professor VanDyck brought Mr. Ben Dweck to as a guest lecturer in our class. He spoke with him about transformational leadership, but then he asked one question with him, and he asked him what if you use yourself as a resource. So that was a very interesting question that we found, and that's basically made us to think, make that this kind of model, the transformational leader and a servant leader model, this hybrid model can work. And Chloe, could you briefly tell us about the key traits of this hybrid model that it might work?
The hybrid model has personal traits like the true desire to help people and integrity, which combines both hand knowledge and hard knowledge. This is Professor VanDyck said.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I remember. Yes, to
I
combine
remember
both
this
our head
sentence.
knowledge and our
Yeah.
heart knowledge. Yes, yes. So yeah, I mean, both these leadership styles have this common trait in them. I think. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And integrity this is word.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Having integrity. I agree.
Professor VanDyck says, always be above reproach, as you lose perspective if you go beyond reproach.
Yes, I remember we were working on a group project, and Professor VanDyck, he mentioned this, and I could see he speaking from experience about to always be above reproach, and I agree with you on
Yeah,
this. Yes.
he speak how important it is to keep integrity and the respect in leadership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Amir, what do you think about this? Could you
Let me
give us an example?
Bring an example. Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
Yes.
As a leader, you have a team.
Okay.
Always, all of them are perfect or obey and doing their task perfectly, and they are senior. No, of course no. Sometimes they face issues, difficulties, personal issue, work issue, any kinds of issue, and sometimes they are junior. You have newcomer in your team. So I remember that Professor VanDyck mentioned that sometimes outside these four walls there are pressure on us in our lives.
Yes.
Yes, remember that.
I agree with you. And he spoke about this and while he was working as a manager, and he said this line, I remember. And then he also gave us a perspective from a follower. Despite as a leader, you are facing so much pressure from your stakeholders, but he gave us a perspective from a follower, that the follower thinks, even he understand that my leader is facing that kinds of pressure, but still he's thinking of me. So this was another wonderful line that professor mentioned us, and it kind of summarized how a transformational leader works, because the follower is able to understand where that leader's position is coming from. So yeah, I agree with you. And some of the common traits we found were, through this hybrid model, is having a balanced risk. That is, you can have a long-term vision as a transformational leader, and you can risk a little bit, but on the same side, you're taking care of your team members, you're taking care of your followers, so there can be a balanced risk in this. And then you can integrate your vision, and you can be real with it. So both of these mindsets incorporate vision in some form. And for servant leadership, the vision is to be present in the moment, as you said, and take care of your followers. And for transformational leader, you are thinking multiple steps ahead. You are thinking about your team as well, and how to mobilize them, and then you are thinking about what your vision
Maybe
is.
I want to tell you example. Servant leadership, we can imagine two lines that we have one leader in each of them.
Okay.
The differences between servant leadership and transformational leadership is exactly the position of the leader in the line.
Okay.
You know, transformational leadership is at the very first of the line.
Front of the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
And front of the line, and also servant leadership is at the end of the line. You know, you
Okay.
can understand exactly servant leadership always sees their followers.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember this example. Professor
Yeah,
drew on the
exactly.
board. He did a doodle of this on the board, and this example basically spoke about how a transformational leader in front is actually leading that change with the group of followers on behind,
Yeah,
and
and this
how
example,
servant leader is at the behind, and he is with the followers at every step of the way. So yeah, that's a
and
great
also
example. Yeah.
I continue that this example that Professor VanDyck said to us. I think it is the best example for differences of them. And in servant leadership always see all the followers. Transformational leadership always see where are they going.
Yeah.
You know, transformational leadership always see the way to go
That's
and
a-
find
that's-
the destination.
That's a good transition.
see?
I was going to talk about what do you think are some of the key differences where you feel transformational.
One of the most important is vision.
Okay, vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
How do you
in-
feel the vision is different in both of them?
Actually, in transformational leadership, the most important part of the job are vision.
Okay.
You know, transformational leader
They're
is-
thinking of 2 steps, 5 steps ahead.
always is thinking about the future
Okay.
and the destination
Mhm.
and the way the team is going through. But servant leadership always, as a very kind leader in a tour, a guide tour, for example, or
Okay.
something like that. Servant leadership always care about the team, always care about, but transformational leadership always care about the result.
Okay.
You know,
What about the risk?
risk and as it's
Transformational leadership is more high risk
high
taking.
risk, you can take a
You're
risk,
capable of
yeah,
taking risk, and
but not in servant leadership.
okay.
Not very much in servant.
Would they be more considerate towards ethics?
Yeah,
Because you
and
want to
it's
think of
simpler
your leaders, and you don't want to break some rules to.
about ethical
Yes.
thinking. You know,
Yeah. So yeah, these were some of the great points that you said. And I think in terms of strategic flexibility, servant leadership is consistent with the core values, and transformational leaders, they're highly flexible. I mean, based on what we understood from Northouse and from Professor VanDyck's lecture, that they are highly flexible in terms of their vision, and in terms of how they want to empower their people and how they want to reach their goals. And there is another factor of manipulation, that influence of manipulation. And we studied about pseudo transformational leadership from Northouse, and professor gave us an example about Jim Jones in this situation, and how you can blindly lead them to somewhere, and it can be equally convincing as well. So the term pseudo transformational leadership. So yeah, I mean, we spoke about transformational leadership style. Professor calls it mindset, and we really like that term as well, because it's not just the style; it's about your values, and there is a whole mixture to that. That's why it becomes a mindset, and it's very wonderfully said by our professor. So we spoke about transformational leader mindset. We spoke about servant leader mindset, and we combined it as a hybrid. We spoke about some of its key traits, as Chloe said, as Amir said, and then Omid mentioned some of the difference in those mindsets. So yeah, I just want to close by a quotation from our professor. He always says, "If I step onto a landmine, just forgive me and educate me." So with that, I want to say, if we have stepped over a landmine, please forgive us and educate us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.